I think we can agree that democracy is a wonderful system for people who are basically insane.
Dave Barry is the author of approximately 11 billion books and the recipient of exactly 1 Pulitzer Prize. For 4 decades, he wrote a weekly column syndicated from his home base at the Miami Herald, and he is the author of the annual, despairing, hilarious Year in Review.
You think that's tough? You ought to try writing a humor column.
Barry's books form the basis for a short-lived show about his life, Dave's World, and his novel Big Trouble was made into a film of the same name.
Next bullet goes through your head.
It's the story of a bunch of miscreants who wind up inadvertently stealing a nuclear suitcase and hijacking a plane due to their own incompetence. The film was set to be released, inauspiciously, on September 12th, 2001.
What is this?
Garbage disposal.
I sat down with Barry to talk about his new book, Lessons from Lucy, America's Strategic Helium Reserve.
First of all, we need helium. You can't have a country without helium, I assume.
Yeah, probably.
So I would go to war for the helium, yeah.
The jokes he can't tell anymore, and his perennial, vaguely libertarian campaign for the presidency.
I am also running for president of the United States. Thank you.
You last spoke with Reason in 1994. And at the time...
And you figured it's about time.
We didn't want to overexpose
25 years have gone
but
by.
We thought it was about time to bring you back to our viewers. At the time you were running for president, are you still running for president?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the sense that... And I used to view it as sort of a joke, but it's getting harder and harder to view.
Yeah, well, I think that you will be officially the 25th entrant into the 2020 field if you are running.
I think if right now we took a poll in Iowa, I'd be ahead of Bill de Blasio by quite a bit. Not a little, a lot.
Yeah.
Ahead of Bill. And that's only because he's the most obscure one whose name I can actually think of. There are people far more obscure than Bill de Blasio, and I'd be ahead of them too.
I think there might be a special hatred for Bill de Blasio in Iowa, so I think that was a good.
And there should be. I was just in New York, and I cannot. I didn't sense. Let me put it this way: this sense of I would have mentioned it occasionally to people. He's running for, and the feeling among New Yorkers, you would think his base is not real positive.
Not a groundswell.
No.
But the Dave Barry campaign, on the other hand,
it's a juggernaut
taking off. What is your platform?
Well, the number one, the thing that really got me started, and it's sort of a reason-related thing, was low-flow toilets. I was against them. I was one of the first people against them, and I'm still against them. And I think we still have them.
Yes.
But I like to point out that we had really great toilets in this country. When I grew up with, you probably did too, great toilets.
Make America's bathrooms great again.
We could suck down a mature sheep with our toilets, and now, look what we're dealing with. So that's the fun, kind of the bedrock principle.
Right.
That's my the equivalent of Trump's wall. Mine is
like just toilets that were taken away from us by regulators.
Yeah, it's a sort of a deregulation thing. And then, of course, I'm always up for accepting, campaign contributions. That's a kind of a fundamental part of my campaign is people giving money to it.
How's that going? Are people,
not so well at the moment, but I'm glad to have this opportunity to mention it.
To just do a little on-screen fundraising.
I take Venmo. I think I'll have to ask my daughter how it works, but I would take it if it were available.
Good. And I mean, in general, you have a long, glorious history of using the federal government as a punchline.
Well, I've said this for many years. If you view the federal government as a form of entertainment, it's a lot easier to just cope with it mentally. So when I write the quarterly check for my income taxes, I think, and I'm getting a lot of value for that. Lately, I feel the federal government is just strictly as an entertainment medium is pretty good. It's pretty good.
What do you say to people that are like, Dave, it's all very well and good, but things are really serious now?
Well, I'll give a semi-serious answer to that. I'll give them that there are issues that they should be upset about, and issues we're all upset about, but. I had a lot of friends who, when Trump was elected president, honestly thought, and I don't know why they thought this, but they thought they were going to be in trouble with the police for I don't know what. And I would say to them, if the Coral Gables police find a time to come around to your house to arrest you for something, let me know, okay? And I'll do anything I can. But there was kind of that level of concern. So it's, that's insane. And I think those people have sort of figured that out at some point, that whatever's happening, it's happening at a much more macro level than that. But even there, I always, this is what my lecture where I turned into old person for my kids. I grew up in the 60s when in this very city that we're in right now, Washington, D.C., there were troops in the streets, fires raging, snipers on buildings. The president was assassinated a couple of years before. Then his brother was assassinated. And Martin Luther King. There's a lot of, there was, not to mention the war in Vietnam and the civil rights movement, where it was pretty clear that, terrible things were happening in the South. I can't imagine that you would look at all that and say that right now, today, things are worse. I just, does that make me a stupid old person?
I, too, take comfort in the fact that the entire late 60s appeared to be on fire. But I also didn't, live through it. So maybe that's easier for me.
You missed it.
I missed all the bad times, apparently.
There's so much drama in people's minds now, Twitter-fueled drama about how everything's just horrible. And I'm just too old to... Fuck it, can we say fuck it?
100% yes.
Yeah, I'm just not going to get that upset about, pretending. There has to be some actual issue that to make me more upset.
Are you a Twitterer? Do you spend a lot of time on Twitter?
I have a Twitter account, and I do tweet from time to time, like once a week maybe. And but I mostly view Twitter as a good way to get on in the morning and look at it while I'm going to the bathroom, which is the time to look at Twitter. Is about the right amount of time, and not to get too detailed.
I mean, we've already like been twice to the bathroom in this interview, so let's see if we can maybe like just hit 5 or 6 before we're done.
That's my. I was going to say bread and butter, but that sounds really weird.
Yeah, let's not.
Where was? Oh yeah. So I look through Twitter and I think, everybody's the same people that are always upset about things are still upset about those things. And the same people who are getting them. You're wrong about that. Here's my clever retort. Oh yeah, well here's my even clever. They're still all doing that. I don't know where they find the time or the energy, to be honest. But it kind of reassures me that however meaningless my life is currently, it is not that meaningless. That's what I'm doing all day. That's the good part of Twitter.
In the past, you've described yourself as a soft libertarian, as a cynical libertarian. Do you have a preferred modifier today?
I'm always afraid to even bring up libertarian because there's so many really on your case libertarians ready to determine that you're the wrong kind.
You probably are. I'll just come out and say right now, you're the wrong kind of libertarian.
I know I'd fail like many tests of purity, but I'm the kind of libertarian who's like, when there's a group of people at a party, I'm the only one who is the libertarian, so I don't have to worry about which stratum of libertarian I'm on.
You can represent.
I'm representing all libertarians.
All libertarians.
And my it's always at the basic level of, what about the roads? Mm-hmm. We don't have any roads. That's kind of the level of libertarian that so I never get really beyond the what about the roads? Or won't people have sex with goats if we don't have a law? Mm-hmm. I'm fighting the easy fights. I'm not fighting other libertarians about, like really fine-tuned issues of libertarianism.
But won't people have sex with goats?
Well, they sure will. In Miami, they heck yes. That's where I live. So, I know I will as soon as it's legal.
Yeah. That's what's been holding you back. Time, Yeah. No, same. Definitely. You sometimes say you're not a satirist. You don't do satire. You're a humorist. What does that distinction mean to you?
Well, to me, okay, my joke definition, satire is humor that is not funny. That's to say, you read it and you know the person is not serious and is trying to make you laugh, but it never rises to the level of being actually funny. And when I was an English major in college, I read a lot of satire. And it was usually like Jonathan Swift, or something like that. And you get, well, that was a joke. One joke took them 8,000 words. And I get why, if you had a lot of time on your hand and nothing else to do, that would be one of the more funny things you read probably in your life. But nowadays, I don't know, there's a lot of other humor out there. So to me, it's just like jokes that just make you laugh. That's humor. Like Anthony Jeselnik is funny. He'll just, within a minute of watching him, you'll laugh, probably against your will, but you'll think you're a horrible person for doing it, but you will laugh.
What jokes used to be funny to you that aren't funny now?
Oh.
Another way of asking that would be...
That I'm allowed to say, I think...
Well, so that was what I was actually going to say, have you gotten woke as the kids say? Like, is there anything where you're like, actually, 70s Dave Barry, not so much?
Not, because I didn't really ever trade particularly in any kind of ethnic humor or, I guess, sexist humor. I mean, I've made a living out of talking about the differences between men and women.
I have to say, I personally, I read all your books growing up. 100% of what I believed about the differences between the genders was based on Dave Barry's Guide to Guys. So thank you for that. It served me well. And
I don't know if somebody would look at it now and say, well, that's unacceptable. But I don't really think there's anything I would change. I still think that most of us living in the world sense, or not done sense, we know there are certain fundamental differences between, am I even allowed to say the genders? Between the sexes.
I think you should say all the genders now.
All the, yeah. And, and they're funny, the way that the sexes interact. And, so I guess maybe somebody would say that's not woke, but I'm not really up for changing it. I would say remember there used to be Polish jokes.
Yes.
This is like the 60s, 70s, and there were millions of them. And they were sometimes very funny. But I don't think anymore I would tell a Polish joke, unless it was...
Is that because no one identifies as Polish anymore, though?
That's right. Yeah, I wouldn't get a laugh. That's the reason. No, I would think maybe somebody could rightfully find that offensive. So if it was a person I knew who was Polish, and he and I were good. Some of my best friends are Polish, and then we would just laugh and laugh. But then I would get him to tell a joke about my ethnicity, which nobody knows, so I'm safe.
You, in your new book, Lessons from Lucy, which is about your old happy dog, you do say, I believe, that Lucy is Jewish.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yes, I do say Lucy. That's one thing. I'm married to a Jewish woman. My daughter's raised Jewish, identifies as Jewish. But my son married a Jewish woman. I've been the guy who held the baby at a bris, So and I go to temple, even though I'm personally an atheist and was raised Episcopalian. I'm not sure where I'm going with this. Oh yeah, Jews. They're really good about. Not taking themselves too seriously. Jews will still tell Jewish jokes, and they're really always funny. They're inevitably funny, and so. But I don't know if I'm allowed to, because I'm married to a Jewish woman, tell Jewish jokes. I do anyway. But
you had a potential run-in with politically incorrect humor with the movie made out of your book, Big Trouble. Can you tell us the story of Big Trouble and the trouble that it got into?
Oh, man. Well, so the plot involves a bomb aboard a nuclear weapon on a plane, but it was otherwise comedy. At least I thought it was funny. And it was supposed to come out September 12th, 2001, the day after 9/11. And so that was the first phone call I got. Second phone call I got the morning of 9/11 was the movie people saying, the movie's not going to come out. And so that it sort of dribbled out months later, and didn't really. Well, I don't know if it did well or not, but so the point is, 9/11 really screwed me over.
Personally,
not to in any way compare my getting screwed with anybody else. But was one other thing about that movie. In it, the Russians are gangsters, and I went to Russia a few years ago for the United States State Department as part of a program where they send authors.
Where they attempt to ignite international incidents.
They send authors over, and you're supposed to increase understanding. And we see how well that's working. And so I went there, and they said, "Well, while you're there, we usually have this thing where we have movie night at the St. Petersburg embassy, not embassy, but whatever it's called." They have a movie night where they bring in all the Russians who want to come, and they show an American movie. He said, "Why don't we show your movie?" Now, the previous couple of weeks, I'd been traveling around doing talks for various groups all around Russia, and one of the things I would ask them is, what do you think our misconceptions are about Russians? And they always said two things: you think we're all drunk, and you think we're all gangsters. So, okay, then it comes time for me to present this movie, Big Trouble, to a group of Russians. And I thought I better quickly review the plot. And the first thing I realized is that it has Russians in it. And the second thing I realized is they're gangsters. So I had to get up in front of this whole room full of Russians and say, my movie does have Russians in it, and they are gangsters. And I could see these groans about it. But I said they're much smarter than the American gangsters. So there's that. Sort of pro-Russian gangster movie.
You had, I think, if anything is your catchphrase, it's, I'm not making this up. We now live in the era of fake news. Did we always live in the era of fake news? I mean, the need to reassure people as far ago as, your early column suggests maybe distrust of the media is not a new phenomenon.
No, well, when I started saying I'm not making this up, it's just because the things I was talking about were so ridiculous. And I lie a lot in my column. My column is mostly lies. So whenever, on those rare occasions when I was going to say something that really did happen, I would say I am not making this up as an indication that it's, even though it's ridiculous and it's in my column, it's true. So it wasn't really talking about the distortions and biases on the part of news media people, although they've always existed. I mean, I've spent my life in the newspaper business. Obviously, a lot of us are biased, and we like to say we're not. But that's not what I was talking about.
Florida man. Let's talk briefly about Florida man. You did not invent the concept of Florida man.
No.
You only occasionally actually are Florida man in the deepest spiritual sense. What do you make of the rise of the meme of Florida man? And are you responsible?
No, I'm not responsible. Florida is responsible for it. You can trace when that happened to the 2000 presidential election, when Florida was unable to determine who it had voted for like several weeks, and really is still sure who it voted for. And I think we should just give our electoral votes to like Montana or someplace that can count.
Somewhere more responsible.
Yeah. Or just not us anymore. Because anyway, Florida got mocked. And then there are these incidents that happen in Florida, and enough of them happen, people start noticing that they're happening. It's not like they're not happening anywhere else, but they are happening, a probably disproportionate number happening in Florida, because there's a lot of people in Florida. And because a lot of people didn't start there. I mean, that's my big defense of Florida, is that most of these people, like if you just are seized by a need to get naked and pleasure yourself in a stuffed animal in a Walmart, you're not going to probably do that in Zanesville, Ohio. You're going to go to Miami. You're going to go to Tampa. You're going to go down there where it's warm and a welcoming environment for that kind of behavior. So we're like, I said, the Ellis Island for weird, stupid people. They come to us to do their weird, stupid things. And, that's sort of become and I think it's a good thing. I really do. I mean, first of all, I live there. So it's like material just washes up on my doorstep. If you're a humor writer, there's no better place to live than Florida. But also it's sort of like, it protects the rest of the nation. All right. They can all look down on us. If they want to get naked in a Walmart, they know where they can go. And it's entertainment. It's like a massive form. Every morning DJ in the country is every morning reading Florida man stories. So it's good. What's wrong? What's bad about it?
Has it been good for your original home paper, the Miami Herald?
The Miami Herald,
Are they on the Florida man beat?
Yeah, it is. People still want to work at the Miami Herald just because so many weird things happen in the Miami area. So that young people who would otherwise be wise enough to never pick journalism as a career are drawn to it and come. And so we have low-paid workers.
Is that your advice to young people considering becoming journalists? Like, don't do it, but if you must, Florida?
Yeah, come to at least go someplace interesting
Sure.
for the short time before you get bought out or fired.
Cool. Let's talk about your new book, Lessons from Lucy. It's about your dog. I want to just confess right now, I am not a dog person.
How can you not be a dog person? Well, okay, you don't have to own a dog, but
I don't really like them.
How can you not like dogs?
I find it confusing that people want like gross animals in their
houses. Have you ever had a dog? Have you ever owned a dog?
When I was a kid, we briefly had a dog. We didn't really bond.
And what happened?
Nothing.
Tell me about it.
It's just a total. Oh, are we going to have a therapy session about my relationship to dogs? It was just a little fluffy.
Show me where the dog touched you.
It's a little fluffy dog. She hung around uneventfully and then died.
Do you like? Okay, here's the real question. Do you like any other animal? Do you like cats?
No.
Okay. Well, then we can't. It's not that.
I barely like people.
Well, that's a whole different thing. Who likes people? To be
Nobody
honest,
likes
it's like,
you like your dog.
I love dogs.
Your dog Lucy.
I
I do. Possibly the only dogs I feel fondly about were Ernest and Zippy.
They were great dogs.
The main dog and the
emergency backup dog,
auxiliary dog. Yes, of some of your earlier books. But the book isn't really about dogs. It's really about the fact that you are super old.
Yeah. Yes, that is what it's about.
What does Lucy teach you about being super old?
Well,
do you take objection to super? I could just go with
no,
old.
no. I'll go. I'll cop to super. I'm about to turn 72. So like the next major birthday I face is 80. So how can you not call me old? And I was just at my 50th college reunion. And if you don't think you're old because you just have this image of yourself, and you go to your 50th college reunion, and all these guys that you used to know, that you used to drink bourbon from the shoe of, are doddering around, bloated and bald and sometimes even trying to dance to music from our era.
Dark times.
Then you feel really old.
Sure.
So I don't deny my age. But so the premise of the book was a simple premise, which is that I'm old, Lucy's old. Well, I wrote it last year when I was 70 and she was 10, so
70.
And I was like, I think everybody who turns 70 goes through this phase of like, taking stock and wondering, because you can't keep pretending you have forever left when you get to be that age. And I'm looking at Lucy and like, she's not taking stock. She's fine. Everything's fine for her. She's just as happy as she ever was. And I'm thinking like, why can't I do that? So the book was an attempt to figure out what I could do to be more like my dog, except for drinking from the toilet.
What
there
can
we
you
go.
do?
Toilets in again.
That's good. I think we made the
theme.
triumvirate. In an attempt to figure out how to relate to you as a dog person, I ended up finding a quote that is from Plato's Republic.
Oh, wow.
He says that dogs are the true philosophers because they know friend from foe. Are dogs the true philosophers?
No.
So
and they don't
Plato
even know,
was wrong.
They clearly don't even know
here.
friend from foe. If Adolf Hitler were to walk into our house, my dog would love him, as much as he'd let her.
Even though she's Jewish.
Even though she's Jewish. She's like, so maybe that's, about it's a philosopher. No, I wouldn't go that far. Nice to people, friendly.
One of your resolutions from the book is to spend more time with your lawnmower drill team. How did Lucy tell you that important lesson?
Well, the idea there was
the lawn rangers. They're called
lawn rangers. The world famous lawn rangers.
I want to give them their due.
Of Arcola, Illinois,
yes.
broomcorn capital of the world. Okay, might as well. But and just because you're jealous doesn't mean you got to hate them. Okay.
Oh, I am
just
jealous.
because you're not a member.
Deeply jealous.
But yeah, I mean the idea there. Dogs are not self-conscious. Dogs, whatever they do that they think is fun, they just do it. And people, me among them, you get older, you think, well, I'm too old for that kind of behavior. That's unbecoming. It's not. I'll look stupid. And except for wearing really skinny jeans, I don't think there's anything old people shouldn't do if they feel like they want to do them.
And yet, you are anti-AARP.
I'm opposed. Well, not opposed exactly, but they have this preposterous attitude, which is you're not getting older. Basically, it's like, and this is like all your mail that's not from AARP is from catheter companies, and yet we're supposed to think that they say let's get rid of all these memes about old people can't handle technology and old people can't do, you're never too old for anything. And I'm thinking, really, ARP? When I go on a book tour, people often want to take pictures with their cell phones, which is nice. But there is a radical difference between the way people my age take the picture and the way young people take the picture. Young people take the picture like this. And people my age go, hold it now, smile. Okay. No, wait, it's on Google. No, wait. Hold it. Okay, smile. No, wait, it's taking a video. No, that, and then they hand it to a young person. So obviously there are there's a reason for the stereotypes about older people. I live in Miami, where I see old people drive all the time, and they don't drive well. They just don't. So I can't remember what the question was. I mean, that's another thing is your memory starts to go. Yeah, but AARP, yeah. But AARP keeps saying, no, but, you can do anything. Like, and I just don't want to get on a plane with a pilot my age. I want to be young and alert and able to take a picture with a cell phone up there if need be.
And yet old people are basically driving our politics right now.
Yeah.
What's happening there?
Well, now
what's going to happen to us?
Seriously, I don't know. Well, I started getting Social Security finally when I turned 70 years old. And I think it's now the greatest program in the history of.
Great. Good. Excellent. There goes your libertarianism right out the door.
But wait, let me ask you
done.
now. Like now I'm in the beating heart of libertarianism. If you pay into Social Security your entire life and you know you're never going to get anywhere near the money you paid in back, it's still wrong to take the money? I'm taking the money. Like whatever you say, whatever you give, I'm taking the money.
Right.
And if they came along and said, we've increased Social Security a lot because old people want it, I'd take it probably. I wouldn't say, no, I can't do that. It's wrong. I'm a libertarian.
I think it's fine to take the money, especially if you paid in. I do think the libertarian moral case here is like, you gotta fight against future people getting the money, which I think is something you can really agree
I'm totally good with that.
Young libertarians also.
Well, if you could, if there was some, not to get all wonky, some way that younger people could sort of buy their way out of it and shift it over and invest, but then I don't know where I'd get my money from.
Exactly, because of course you didn't.
Selfish young people.
You didn't pay into an account.
No, I know.
There was no. It's
I immediately handed it to some lady in like
cobwebs.
Iowa that I don't know.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's a concept that I understand where the problems are with that. But on the other hand, this person is almost dead and getting money from the government. I'm not going to change anything.
So
that's the problem with people like me.
Seems like we've done good work here today, hammering out your presidential platform.
Well, yeah. And let me just add that if I were the president of the United States and I had access to a big jet that could go anywhere in the world that I wanted it to anytime I wanted to, I'd take that baby all over the world. That's what I would. I mean, I would use the jet. I would have a commitment to jet travel as president. That would be my kind of the cornerstone. And it wouldn't be less necessarily countries that we need to hammer out agreements with.
It would just be like places with beaches.
Nice countries where, I wouldn't even try to hammer anything out when I got there. I'd just drive around, screw up traffic in a motorcade, maybe go to the beach, and then fly home. And I would never have any meetings with anybody. I would not meet with foreign leaders about anything. I'd say, you guys are busy, do what you want. I'm just going to the beach.
You would be kind of the Calvin Coolidge of air travel.
Yeah. Did he do that? Did he go to the beach?
He was a pretty chill president.
Yeah.
Yeah. The very last thing I want to ask you is, in 1994, for some reason, your interview with Reason centered heavily around the strategic helium reserve.
Oh, did it?
It did.
I think that's still an issue.
Do you recall that? It is still an issue. I looked it up.
Are we really running?
People are still mad at people for filling balloons with our scarce helium.
Yeah.
Just to have fun.
I've done that.
So just as a closing question, do you still have deep thoughts about the helium?
Yeah,
reserve?
I mean, I guess, first of all, we need helium. You can't have a country without helium, I assume.
Yeah, probably.
So I would go to war for the helium, yeah. We got missiles, right? Yeah. Who has the helium? That'd be one of the things.
We do. Texas has 30% of the world's helium,
then
apparently.
I fire a couple of missiles at Texas if they're not giving it up. Is that the problem? Is there not?
Okay, so we're declaring war on Texas.
Yeah, if we need to. I mean, for the helium, sure.
I think we've done good work.
We want the younger generation to have some helium. Well, we really want them to hear Uncle Dave inhale the helium and then talk with a funny voice. We don't want to give that up. I mean, that's America, isn't it? Isn't that why we have America? So that we can do that and things like it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Dave Barry. For ReasonTV, I'm Catherine Menke-Ward.
She is.